Timber frame buildings are built with mortise and tenon joinery and connected with pegs. And what makes them fundamentally different than stick-built buildings, or what we would call modern carpentry, is that the pieces are physically joined together with that joinery. And it takes a lot longer to build a timber frame building than it does a stick-built building. And it also takes a lot higher level of skill. Because of those two things, these buildings tend to last a lot longer than stick-built buildings do. And so not only are timber frame buildings stronger, they last longer, they tend to be more sustainable, and they utilize less lumber than stick-built buildings do. Timber frames are a component of the whole building, and so what we really try to do is integrate our timber frame with the foundation or the roof or the windows or the doors. And we try to get in early on a project and bring in our engineers and our designers to work with the architect or the owner or both to really help them complete their vision in the most efficient way possible. And all of that takes a lot of pre-planning, especially with a reconstruction or a restoration. We say plan to work, work to plan. And I would say that in timber framing, a high percentage of our work is material handling. At the end of the day, if we punch a mortise by hand, it takes about 1.5 minutes to cut that mortise. It takes about 20 or 30 minutes to get that stick organized, sorted, on the horses, laid out, all these kinds of things. So we're planning for that one moment that we're going to drill that hole, that we're going to cut that mortise, that we're going to cut the tenon. And it takes months to do that, or years in some cases. Well, the building needs to be drawn in a full isometric first, or in elevation renderings. From that point, we can label the building, which doesn't take very long. It's a matter of going through the structure with labels and applying those. And then the exterior siding and the fascia and all the bracketry and trim work needs to come off. And I would imagine that the next step they're going to take is to demolish the roof. Typically, we start with the siding first, and then take the roof off last, just to cut down on the weathering. And then what we do is rig the building together and pound all the pegs out, and then lower the bents, the frames or cross frames, in the same way that they were erected. And then we load it on a truck and haul it to the new site and build it back again in reverse order. We're going to raise the interior bents first, attach the mezzanine joist to the interior bents, and then raise the corresponding bents all the way out to the gable ends. And we're going to do that with 2 block and tackle. The bents will get lifted by hand to waist level, and then about the time you get to stomach level, you start to put a pike pull underneath it and people push it up, and then we've got people on block and tackle that are pulling the bent up, and then we've got to make the connections. And we could come in with a bunch of steel plates, or we could come in with some iron and shore these things up, but we prefer to do it with wood, and that's our specialty.